welcome to London Players Guild. Today we have for you yet another Store Championship deck profile. This one is going to be Frieza, or the Last Resort Frieza, which is a starter deck green leader. So a quick word, Store Championship format is a format that's only played with set 10 and the starter decks from set 10. So the Clan Collusion, I actually don't know the name of the other ones. It's a Frieza starter, Vegito starter, and Vegex starter. Yeah, this is a deck list that we came up with. It is supposed to have some answers in the main deck against Shinron, which we presented as the D deck to beat. Yeah, I'm going to go through all the cards, main deck, side deck, explain which card is for what matchup, and we'll see how it goes. So let's start with reading the leader. Leader is a green Frieza with a permanent. You can't include Saiyan cards in your deck. This is a very limiting permanent, especially in this format, because a lot of very good green cards or supporting green are Saiyans. Pardon me. For example, the green super combo is Vegeta, which is a Saiyan. The black card that supports green leader and discarding is Son Goku, so again a Saiyan. And and Gogeta, the neutral secret, is Saiyan. The Saiyan Great Ape is a Saiyan as well. So we can't include actually a secret in this deck, which is a bit problematic, but we found a way around that. And there we go. The auto says choose one Frieza's army card in your battle area and place it in its owner's drop area. When this card attacks a leader card, your opponent chooses one card in their hand and discards it. Then add up to one card from your life to your hand. So every time you attack a leader, you can sacrifice one of your battle cards to make your opponent discard a card. If they want to stop the attack, they will lose more cards from hand. And on top of that, you can self-awaken. So technically you have that 1-for-1 because you lose a card, your opponent loses a card. Technically your opponent gains a card from that, but you can also take a damage. That's a very good ability against the slower decks like Shinron, which not necessarily is going to attack you early on. It might attack you once or twice to get their search off, but that's about that. And leader awakens at full life, and it's draw 1 and switch 1 of your energy to active mode. Switching that 1 energy to active mode is actually really strong in this deck because there's a lot of 1 energy plays that are really good. It's a very cheap deck on energy curve and it does a lot of things during its turn. So this is a really, really good awakening for them. Then to the awakened side, Last Resort Frieza. So when this card attacks, you draw 1 card, doesn't matter what you attack, as expected. And this time the effect is activate main. Once per turn you can choose one of your Frieza army card in battle area and sacrifice it essentially. You choose one card in your opponent's hand, so you choose at random but you choose. And discard it. Then you choose up to one of your green Unison cards and it gains critical for the turn. This is a pressure system. So you play a battle card, either add cards to hand or be able to attack with it, or just play it for free because we have options like that. Pardon me. Then you sacrifice it, so you lose 1 card, your opponent loses 1 card because you snipe a card from their hand. You can snipe something good as well because they don't have a choice over that. And then your Unison gets critical, so you push for more damage. And then if they want to stop the critical, if they take the damage, they don't get cards in hand. If they don't want to take the damage, they actually actively lose cards from hand. So it's a really powerful effect, especially with certain Unison we play, which I'm going to go into in a moment. But yeah, that's what the leader does, and now I'm going to go through the deck list. You can see the deck list on the screen already. I'm just going to go quickly through each of the cards in the deck, what they do, why they're important and why are they in the deck. So our first Unison is Frieza Zeno, Darkness Overflowing. It's a Unison card with specified cost of 2 green. It is a permanent that whenever it would lose a marker from an opponent's attack, you can crit your life instead. And then its two abilities are +1, activate, both are activate main of course. +1, you discard a card from hand as a cost and then draw one card. And -1, you choose up to one of your opponent's battle cards with energy cost 4 or less and KO it. Or you choose up to one of your opponent's Unison cards and remove a marker from it. So the +1 has a small combo, which is good because it helps Frieza Zeno stay alive. The -1 is the one that's going to see a lot of control usability. You can use it to stop your opponent's battle cards from doing something. You can stop their blockers. You can remove a smaller battle cards that might be a part of the engine, or just remove a combo power. But the most important mode for that, I think, is going to be removing the marker from a Unison card. Because it doesn't require an attack and it doesn't proc any effects that either protect them or like Mechikabura, which procs when the marker is removed from the attack. I think this type of effect is going to be really strong against the decks that depend on Unison cards, of course. So, for example, decks like Frieza, so in the mirror match, this is going to be a very important effect. Decks like Pilaf, decks like Trunks at the beginning. Trunks needs to only resolve East Kai 2 or 3 times, really, to be in a good situation. Yeah, so it is a useful effect. It's definitely a control effect. And our finisher, which is Super Saiyan Bardock Paternal Unison. Again, it's a green Unison with specified cost of 2. And when it has an auto skill, when your opponent combos, you may place up to one card from their combo area in its owner's drop area. And if you do, negate this skill for the turn. That means that you don't need to remove their first combo card. You can do it at any point they put a card in the combo area. Only if you do that, the skill is negated. Which is a really strong effect because they can't just tempt it. No, that's not the word I'm looking for. But yeah, they can't just coerce you to use or bait it. That's the word. They can't bait it with a small combo card that they don't mind losing and then do the bigger ones. Because normally against effects like that, you would be just like 0 cost 5k combo and then super combo. In this case, you can keep it until they use a super combo and then just get rid of their super combo, which is amazing. His +1, you may choose one of your green battle cards with energy cost of 1 and KO it. If you do that, your opponent chooses one card in their hand and discards it. It's a really strong hand control effect, especially in this deck where we have a possibility for recurring a 1-drop. It costs 2 energy to bring it back to board, but we can very easily do that, which is amazing for this particular Unison. But the reason we play this card is the -3. -3 gives Bardock +5k power and triple attack for the turn. If we put on top of that a critical that the leader gives, we have a 20k triple attack critical, which is really hard to stop. And if we manage to have Bardock on board for a turn or 2 earlier, it can really spell problems to our opponent, especially if we reduce their hand size by a lot. Then they will just end up unable to defend against that. So when they're at 3 life or even 4 life, you can use Bardock to finish that off because they will have no hand by the end of it. And then you can use your leader to finish them off. Or any other card, really. So again, a very strong card. This is our finisher. So the reason why we only play 3 of those is because you really only want to see 1. You need to see it, but you only ever need to see 1. If you see it beforehand, like the deck depends a lot on Unison cards, so we decided to play 7. But you prefer to see Frieza Zeno at the beginning before Bardock. You want to just play Bardock towards the end. And then we go into our Dodorias. So you probably did notice we're playing 3 different Dodorias. If we had Tournament Pack, we would be playing 4 different Dodorias in this deck. Or maybe we would swap one for something else. But yeah. This is Dodoria Frieza's Devoted Servant. 1 drop, requires 1 green, 4k power. If your leader card is green Frieza card and you have a green Unison card in play, if this card is placed in your drop area from your hand by a skill, you may play this card from your drop area. So this is the main combo we have with Frieza Zeno, right? We discard this, it's played, then we sacrifice it with our leader and give our Unison critical while sniping a card from opponent's hand. Then it has Activate Main. For 1 green, if your leader card is a green Frieza and you have a green Unison card in play, you can add this card from your drop area to your hand. So this is the engine I was talking about for Bardock. What you can do is just pay 1 green, bring it to your hand, pay 1 green, play it, sacrifice it for Bardock, and do that again and sacrifice it for your leader, and then Bardock attacks with critical. That way you get rid of 2 of your opponent's cards from hand, and yourself you draw a card for the attack, and your Bardock has critical as well. So this is actually frighteningly, that 2 energy to discard a card is really strong. And of course, if you can resolve multiple of those, if you have spare energy, you can just keep on bringing them back to hand and just keep the combo power in hand if the game goes long, for example against Sin Shenron. Another Dodoria we play is Dodoria Brimming with Power. This one is actually a very special one because this is where we start the tech against Sin Shenron. So it's a 1 drop green counterplay. If your leader card is mono green and you have a green Unison card in play, if the battle card being played has an energy cost of 2 or less, it's placed in its owner's drop area instead of being played. Then you play this card. So we use this to counterplay either when they pay 6 energy to bring their negative balls, or if they're just trying to hardcast the negative balls, or even when we get rid of their Sin Shenrons and they try to bring the ball, we can just Dodoria it and it doesn't do anything. Stopping their balls from coming out means that they won't be able to cheaply cheat out all of their battle cards, which is important. Of course, as soon as we can do this is turn 2 or 3, depending how we get the Unison card and if we can awaken early on. But it's still, because the game is going to take so long, this is actually a really good card to have. That's why we're playing 4 of this. It is to stop the Sin Shenron. And last Dodoria we play is Dodoria the Cold-Blooded. And this is essentially a Saiyan Cabra, but for green. And it's not a Saiyan, so we can actually play it in this deck. A 1 drop, double striker, either early on to help us awaken if we're playing against someone who doesn't attack a lot, Sin Shenron, hint hint, or if we don't want to attack them too much ourselves. We can use this to self-awaken. It can remove 2 markers from a Unison card, which can be really strong, and can be used as a finisher to deal that last 2 damage to your opponent. It's also another sacrifice target for either Bardock or Frieza. So there is that. It's not hurting, maybe that way. Next we got Zarbon, Frieza's right hand man. So when we play this card, we look at the top 5 cards from our deck, and we can add up to 1 green Unison card with specified cost of 2, or 1 green Frieza's army card with cost 4 or less to our hand. And then we shuffle the deck. So essentially we can add anything in our deck beside 8 cards total. So there's 4 dormant potentials, 2 Dark Death Balls, and 2 Frieza's Charismatic Villain. Beside that we can add anything, so it's almost impossible for you to whiff on this card. And another effect, it's Activate Battle. For 1 green, if your leader is green Frieza and you have a green Unison in play, you can warp this card from your drop area, choose either your leader or your Unison, and it gets 10k power for the battle. So it's a 1 cost 10k combo, which we don't have in this deck. We can use it defensively on our leader or offensively on the leader or Unison, which is actually really strong. We will keep a lot of energy open in this deck, so yeah, there will be a lot of possibilities to use this card. Yeah, Next Zarbon, Victory Over Beauty. This is a very specific card. This is against Shinrenron. So when they attack you with something smaller, either one of the hazes, or when they decide to attack you with actually 9-drop Shinrenron, or with the leader. This is a counter attack, negate the attack and play this card. And then auto, when this card is played during your opponent's turn, you choose up to one of your opponent's battle cards, KO it, and then choose up to one card in your opponent's hand and discard it. It can be used against other decks as well, of course, but most you want to use it against is going to be that Shinrenron. You want to use this to stop an attack on your leader, and then you want to get rid of their 9-drop Shinrenron. Because when you do that, they're forced to draw 2 cards. They will play a battle card, the 1-drop negative energy from the drop area, which we have another thing in a sideboard for. This card just removes the biggest threat. Ideally, you use this after they already paid the 6 energy, so they can't bring another one out. So this card is going to be your answer to that big Shinrenron, the blocker revenge. And the last Zarbon we play is Zarbon the Gorgeous, which is a super combo that checks for 4 life or less. We can't play Vegeta, which is a far superior super combo in this format for green, but sadly he is a Saiyan, so we can't use him. Next card, we go into Ginyu Force Engine. We have a small Ginyu Force Engine, 11 cards. The first one is 2-drop, 2 green specified Ginyu, Frieza's greatest soldier. Auto, when this card is played, choose up to one of your leader cards or green Unison cards, and it gets plus 10,000 power for the turn. Also, if your leader card is a green Frieza card, when this card is placed in the drop area from a battle area by a skill, you may return this card to your hand. So what does this card do? We can either pump our critical attacker Unison card, which is going to be most common thing. You will play Ginyu, give your Frieza or Bardock plus 10k, and then immediately sacrifice that Ginyu to give them critical, and then it becomes 25k critical attacker, which is, as you can imagine, a very strong thing to do, and Ginyu still comes back to your hand. Next one, we have 2 cards actually from the course Ginyu Force Engine. The 2 cards that don't require Ginyu Force leader. So we have Jace, second in command. It's unique, 15,000 power, 2-drop, requires 1 green. Whenever Jace attacks, you look at the top 3 cards of your deck. You can add up to 1 Ginyu Force from it, which we have total of 11 in the deck. And then you can place the rest either on top or bottom of your deck in any order you want. And you can also split them, unlike Tournament of Power Arena. And because of the wording and all. So you can use this to actually stack your deck if you see cards like Zarbon, Victory Over Beauty, which you don't need in the current matchup because, for example, you're playing against Pilaf, where Zarbon is not that good actually. You can just put it right at the bottom of the deck and set up yourself to draw useful cards and not have disappointing cards. That's the reason why the engine is here. We play 3 Jace and 4 Bertha. The reason why we play only 3 Jace is because we don't have that many targets that we can add with him, and he is required to attack to get the effect off, which is a bit worse in certain situations when you don't have targets to attack or you don't want to attack. And then we have Bertha, fastest in the universe. Again, a 2-drop, 1 green specified, 15,000 power. He has unique, and he's a blocker. So he can stop attacks against your Unison cards or against your leader. He can help you survive there. And at the end of your turn, you can switch this card to active mode, then look at the top 3 cards of your deck and again stack them either top or bottom in whatever way you want. What that means, you can attack with Bertha. You don't need to, but you can attack with Bertha into Unison card, battle card, or wherever you really want to. And then at the end of the turn, he's still going to go back to active mode, and you can use him to defend yourself. That's why we have 4 Bertha, because he's absolutely amazing in this format because you don't have that many negates. So having Bertha actually helps a lot because it can stop additional attacks. If he's going to survive those attacks as well, that's even better. We have Frieza, charismatic villain. We only play 2 charismatic villains in the main deck. We have another 2 in the side deck. So why do we only play 2 in the main deck? Let's go through the card quickly first. It's a 5-drop, requires 1 green. Counterplay, you can't activate counterplay skills of other cards for the turn, and you play this card from your hand. You can also use this card for free if you have a green Unison card with 2 or more markers. And when this card is played, choose up to one of your opponent's battle cards with energy cost 7 or less and KO it. The problem here is that 7 or less. You can't react to secrets, you can't react to the 9-drop Sin Shenron, which is a really big problem. So you can only react to certain things. You maybe want to resolve it once or twice. Definitely you would want to resolve it against either Pilaf when they go for the big machine, or against Vegito or Trunks if they're going for the Vegito union. But for that we have additional 2 that we can side in. So really in the main deck you don't want more than 2. And for our extra cards we have 4 Dormant Potential Unleashed. So the counterattacks in this set don't actually negate the attack, which is interesting. Counterattack states, if your leader card is mono green, you can KO any number of your opponent's battle cards with a total cost of 2 or less. So you can wipe their tokens if they have any. You can also wipe, usually you will wipe 1 or 2 battle cards, which is alright. But additionally, you may choose 1 green card in your hand and discard it. If you do, your opponent can only attack once more this turn, which means that it can only attack once more. It doesn't matter if it's a Unison card, if it's a battle card, or if it's a leader card, they can only attack once more. So it's a bit better than Nimbus. And on top of that, if you have a green Unison card in play, you can just activate this card from hand without paying the energy cost, which again is a quite strong effect. You can just Nimbus for free. It doesn't negate the attack, but in this format it's more likely than not that when they're attacking you, against Sin Shenron, this just stops more additional attacks. But it won't be able to kill anything there. But generally, it's a good card. And the last card is Dark Death Ball, which is a counterplay. It's essentially Preemptive Strike if you have a green Unison card in play. And on top of that, you can KO one drop your opponent controls. But if all of your energy is mono green, you can activate this card's counter skill from your hand without paying the cost by choosing 2 other cards in your hand and discarding them. As far as I know, this is considered to be used by a skill. So the Dodoria, the Frieza's Servant, the 1-drop from starter deck, would trigger. I'm not 100% certain, but I think it would trigger. Even then, you don't really want to be playing that many of them. It is good against certain matchups, like against Pilaf if you go first. It's an amazing card against Pilaf if you go first. But then you don't really need to see it to stop Pilaf, because you have also the Doria, which is good against Pilaf. You have other things that are good. Difference between a 4-drop and a 2-drop is very minuscule. The best use of the Dark Death Ball is to stop your opponent's Sin Shenron, pay 6 energy to bring out a lot of stuff, cause you essentially stop everything but the 9-drop Sin Shenron. Everything else is just going away. So that's the only good use of this card. Might be thinking of putting it up, but I doubt it would be necessary. So that was the main deck. In the side deck we have, again, more hate against Sin Shenron. Then we have some hate against Pilaf, or Mirror Match siding, and Trunks and Vegeta siding. So let's go, not this one, this one. Blue Impulse. So this is a very underrated card in my opinion for green. Even though it's a blue impulse, it's a green card. It goes to 1 specified green. If your leader card is green and you have a green Unison card in play, you can reduce the cost of this card by 1, so it's a 1 green drop. And it's activate main. If your opponent played a battle card this turn, choose all of your opponent's battle cards and KO them. This is specifically against Sin Shenron. When you get rid of their... During your turn, if you get rid of their blocker, for example the 4-drop Sin Shenron, they draw a card, they play their 1-drop, and then you board wipe them with this. Pardon me. And you can very easily kill that blocker with your Frieza Zeno. The card is essentially to keep Sin Shenron's field in check, because every time we remove their 4-drop or 9-drop from board, they're forced to draw cards, and at some point they wouldn't want to do that. And we have potential, dormant potential unleashed to stop them from launching multiple attacks. We have a lot of defensive ways, and on top of that we can reduce their options further and further with our leader skill and Bardock if we need to. So surprisingly, this card is doing very well against Sin Shenron. Next one is a Frieza engine that we're using, which is Frieza Terrifying Transformation. It's a 2-drop, 2 green required. When this card is removed from your battle area by an opponent's skill, sadly you can't do it yourself, you draw 2 cards. And activate main, you can pay 1 green and choose up to 1 green Frieza card with energy cost of 4 in your hand or drop area and play it on top of this card in active mode. In other words, you can attack with this and then pay 1 green energy and play something on top of it. Or if they just want to remove it, that's fine with you as well, because if it's removed by a skill, you draw a card. Or rather 2 cards. And the 4-drop Frieza we're playing is Cosmic Horror. So it's a 4-drop, 2 green required, 20k. It has dual attack, and when this card is played, choose one. Choose up to one of your opponent's battle cards, KO it, or choose up to one of your opponent's Unison cards and remove a marker from it. So the reason why we play this card is against Pilaf decks or against any Unison based deck. So Pilaf, Vegito, Frieza, so the mirror match. Those are the decks where you want to be playing Frieza. It lets you remove the marker. You can technically use it to remove a battle card as well. I haven't seen that as very necessary at any point yet. And it has dual attack, so you can remove another 2 markers from your opponent, which is amazing on its own. So yeah, those 2 cards are mostly used for that. You could technically just put Cosmic Horrors against Sin Shenron, but you have a better ways to KO that, cheaper way, so you still have some interaction during your opponent's turn. So definitely this is only if you put all 8 of them in. And usually you can put all 8 if you're playing against Pilaf, for example. You can easily cut Zarbuns, you can easily cut Jace from your deck, and definitely you can cut Friezas. So there are ways for you to operate your sideboard there. Next card is we have 2 Frieza Dark Infestation, which is a Xeno Frieza, so we can't bring him with the 2-drop. But it's actually a really good card. It costs 4 with 1 required green, 15,000, it has double strike, it's unique, so we can only have 1 on board. If your opponent has 3 or more energy, when this card is removed from your battle area by a skill or KO'd, you can add up to 1 green extra card with energy cost of 1 or less from your drop area to your hand. It also has activate main. Place this card in its owner's drop area, choose up to 1 card in your opponent's hand and discard it. We need to play it for the full cost, but having that double strike against a smaller Unisons, or so for example against Zamasu, this Frieza is quite good. And then additional hand control. So we have Dodoria that we can use with our leader or Bardock, but then we have this which can bring back dormant potential unleashed to our hand. You can also side it in against Sin Shenron just to bring back the dormant potential unleashed, because that screws their plans a lot. And the last one, we have additional 2 Frieza charismatic villains. It's against Vegito or Trunks decks. Potentially you could play it against Pilaf, but it doesn't feel that good there. You could definitely play it against Yamcha as well, but I haven't seen much Yamcha in this format. So yeah, this is the deck list. You can see the full deck list here right now. Let us know, what do you think? I think this is one of the better counters against Sin Shenron. So you've seen on our previous video, Sin Shenron is the deck to beat, and this is one of the decks that can do that. The other deck that could do that easily, I think, is Zamasu, which I'm going to be covering as the next video. Thank you guys for watching. If you enjoyed the deck, let us know in the comments, and consider subscribing, because that helps the channel. And see you guys at the next video.
Hey everyone, Scott here. Thank you for watching that video. We hope you enjoyed it. If you want to continue to support LPG outside of YouTube, I would implore you to check out our Patreon, our Facebook page, twitch.tv/playersguild, and our own site, londonplayersguild.com, all of which are linked in the description below. If you can't, not a problem. We just hope you enjoyed your stay and we'll see you in the next one. Thank you.